2, 1, boom. What's up, champions? Coach Rail here with Getting Real with Rael, where we get raw, real, and authentic. I like to say we all know each other's glory, but we don't always know our story. I am really so excited about today's guest because I'm always curious about people like this, and it'll make sense to you, is that because there's certain people, as we're going to learn, I mean, how do you come up with these ideas? You don't just wake up and come on. It'll make sense. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Dr. Sean Talbot. And I came up with the title Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde because he really is amazing. He really does have these two different lives that we're going to find out about that I know on the front end. Maybe he's got three. But without further ado, Dr. Sean Talbot, come on in.
Hey, how are you guys?
I am great. So I'm so excited for you to be here, Dr. Talbot, because I know you're a crazy busy man, and I appreciate you taking the time. So let's just jump in. Take us back. I always like to throw out the number 5 because that seems to be a pivotal time in our life where we, are affected in many different ways, but as far back as you want. And tell us about Dr. Talbot. Did you grow up in a good relationship with your parents? Were you an only child? What was school like? Were you bullied? Take us through that journey from then up to now.
Oh, wow, geez, I actually didn't expect that sort of a question as a lead off, but yeah. So I guess I grew up in a fairly dysfunctional family, like a lot of people. My dad was an auto mechanic. My mom did a lot of things just to sort of make ends meet. She was a bus driver for a while. She was a nurse's aide for a while. She just sort of did what needed to be done. But growing up, wasn't, didn't have a lot of money. You just sort of did what we needed to do. But I loved school. That's one of the things that sort of really, for me, I wasn't, much of an athlete back in those days, but, yeah, I love school and love to learn things and love to be curious. And, my mom always encouraged that. So, yeah, that was my sort of youthful upbringing, and it never really found myself really, I guess, until I went away to college and got to start studying and got into sports in a sort of a different way and things like that. But yeah, that was my early sort of life. I had a brother and a sister. Still have a sister, but my younger brother died of a drug overdose about, gosh, what is it now? It's 2019, so almost 18 years ago. And my sister's married, has got a couple of kids, and lives in the Midwest now. So yeah, that's kind of my family.
Wow. So let's talk about a few things. I was making notes over here. So I'm always curious, as a kid, I graduated from a class of 1,200. I was the only African American. So to say I was bullied and picked on, I mean, I remember certain names I was called and things that happened to me as a kid that still affect me today.
Sure.
Were you bullied as a kid, or how was that life like?
No, I was never really bullied, but I grew up in a town that was a very affluent town, and we were clearly the poorest kids in town. Maybe not the poorest kids, but definitely in that group of folks, So we were clearly the have-nots, So there was always that sort of social hierarchy distinction sort of a thing. So that was a sort of a formative sort of an experience as I was growing up, but never really bullied. I was I'm kind of like I am now. I'm kind of an upbeat person, kind of a silver lining, kind of an outlook. What's the good in this situation? And I've had that since I was little, which has been really lucky for me, I think.
Now, so when you say that you found the good in everything, how did you find the good, and what was that like when your brother overdosed with drugs? How was that in your life, and how did you turn that into a positive?
Well, looking back on it, it actually was. I mean, it was a positive in how I changed my career focus, right? So back then, I was sort of an up and coming sport nutritionist, right? At that time in early 2000s, I was working with all the top people, Olympic Training Center, U.S. Track and Field Association, U.S. Ski Team, just having a great time as a performance nutritionist, And then when that happened, it really, and people have heard me talk about this before, it shifted my focus a little bit, right? From, hey, I'm doing something that's really fun for me and maybe beneficial for this little, very, elite subsection slice of the world, these elite level athletes. But, what is it doing for other people in the world, right? Really, really not a heck of a lot. And that, Troy's death, that's my younger brother, Troy. That at least got me to rethink things, right? And what it did for my career was it got me to say, look, are there things that we're doing with these elite athletes? Are there principles that we can learn from how they're improving their mental fitness and using that improvement in mental fitness to fuel their physical performance, and get to the top step of the podium? Are there things that we can use there, those principles, for a mom who's stressed out with her 3 kids, or for a dad who's stressed out at his job, or for somebody who has depression or anxiety or doesn't really know where to turn the next day, right? And that's exactly what we've been able to find. So now these days, whether you call that nutritional psychology or nutritional psychiatry, or you call it mental wellness, or you call it, my specialty area of research these days is something called psychological vigor, which is the opposite of burnout, right? All of that these days, now 20 years down, is like the whole bucket of things that seem to be the most important health issue around the entire globe, So I wouldn't have made that switch if it weren't for, what happened to my brother. And I'd probably still be doing, purely sport nutrition right now. But now I think it's a broader net that I'm able to cast to help a lot more people.
I love that, Dr. Talbot. It makes me think, I know there was a time, I've been blessed that I became a very successful actor in Hollywood and really was on the top of the world, if you will. And I became a believer at a certain point in my journey. And I used to travel specifically down to Alabama because I love to fish. And I'd be fishing down there and I would always run into people and there would always be one person who'd say to me, hey, I read in this article that you're a believer. And I'd go, yeah. And they would look at me and they'd say, so how do you justify doing soap operas when you say you're a believer? And I was like, but they were planting seeds in me. And it was kind of like, that's why I stopped acting for 20 years, because I came to the point where I was like, hey, this is great for Real, but I'm not changing any lives.
Sure.
And I really became passionate. I wanted to leave a legacy to make a difference. So I totally can connect with that. But, and I want to come back to that because obviously we're part of the same company that we're both very passionate about. But I'm always curious about this, like I said at the beginning, because, if you wake up and your vision is to be playing the NFL, right? There's a whole bunch of us. Or like me, initially I wanted to go to the Olympics and, win a gold medal as a sprinter, or maybe you want to, and they're all amazing things, but people like yourself, a doctor, you've created, where does that come? I'm always curious, where does that, did you just wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh, that would be a good idea, and you just come together with the formulation? How does that happen?
No, well, it's I mentor a lot of students, and whether they're college students or they're graduate students, or they're young in their career in whatever aspect of science. And the one thing I'll tell them that has really served me well is to try to get your fingers into a lot of different things, right? One of the things that you're trained, right, as you sort of go down the scientific path or the medical path, we joke around about it, right? That you end up learning more and more about less and less because you end up specializing in a particular area. So if it's nutritional biochemistry, like what my PhD is in, you would learn more and more and more about nutritional biochemistry, and you would stop learning about physiology or kinesiology or psychology or all those other ologies, right? You would put them to the side so you can become an expert in your one little narrow area of focus. And that's what you need to do. But I really encourage all these students that I mentor to say, look to other places, right? You'll get better ideas if you can be well read in a broad spectrum of things. So I go to conferences where I'm not an expert in pharmacology, for example, but I'll listen to people who are experts in that and they'll talk about that. I read patents that are filed by pharmaceutical companies. I jump on webinars. They're given by people who are experts in positive psychology and things like that, right? So like those can sometimes spark a little bit of what I know and then what I just learned. And if you can draw a link between that, that's where these new ideas come from, So, I'm a, for the most of my career, I've been a product developer, so I'm not in academia anymore, even though I taught at the University of Utah for a bunch of years. That was a great part of my career. But now it really is about maybe not doing the basic research in a particular area of metabolism, but it's being aware of that research and being aware of how it might link to this other area that can benefit somebody, and then bringing those together, right? So, you have to be almost a generalist in those areas. So, so that's part of it. So that, then the question becomes, well, that's great. How do I do that? And the how of it is to be humble enough to realize you don't have all the answers, but somebody out there does, and you got to go around and find out who has the information that you need. So that's why I go to conferences. That's why I, hold webinars where I let other people talk. It's why I talk to people and, try to make those connections, right? Because not one person can have all those ideas. Like you just said, you're like, hey, you come up with all these ideas. I'm really just linking ideas from other people and bringing them together and go, here's that new way of putting all those ideas together. I wonder if that would help people. And then we can study that and see how it works and how to change it and tweak it and things like that. So it's it's like a village, you're bringing all these different pieces to bear on these problems that we can help people with.
Right, I love that. Now, what you said in your career, when did you always, like usually people like yourself, when did you know that you wanted to be a doctor? Because I think you said it didn't happen till college, but is that the truth, or were you always like the brainer and you knew this is what you wanted to be, or when did you first know that this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I did okay in school before that, so like in elementary and middle school and high school, I was fine, I wasn't the top of the class, but I was sort of, in the top 10 or top 20 kind of thing like that. So I was always hanging around with other kids who were smart, who liked books and things like that and liked to be curious. And I thought when I went to college, I thought I wanted to be a physician, right? I thought I wanted to be like a, orthopedic surgeon or something like that, because I liked the intersection of, sort of medicine and sports. And that's what I got my undergrad in sports medicine. But when I was there, I got the chance to take classes in nutrition and physiology. And it shifted me from taking someone who's hurt and bringing them back to normal versus taking somebody who's normal and getting them to be better. And that idea of using nutrition and exercise and sleep and supplements and things like that to take somebody to this higher plane, that got me more interested, less in medicine and more in scientific research. And that's the path I ended up taking, studying exercise physiology and nutritional biochemistry and nutritional psychology and all that kind of stuff. So, not that the other part isn't important. That's really important. If you have someone who's hurt or someone who's sick, get them back up to stuff. That's really important. But boy, there's so many people who are just sort of regular. And if you can get them to be better than regular or a better version of themselves, I think that's where a lot of people want to be and have this idea of, this wish that they could be something other than they are right now. And that's the kind of work that I get to do right now. It's really, professionally, it's very gratifying, but personally, just to be able to help somebody with that is it doesn't feel like a job at all sometimes.
Well, yeah, I can tell you this personally. Since I met you, I don't even think it's been a month, but I am 150 million% pain-free. I sleep through the night like a baby. And what's cool is I still wake up by 3 o'clock, which I do, but I go to sleep and I'm out. And I can't even remember the last time I did that. I usually wake up every hour, regular, focused, all of that. So I'm grateful. You've totally changed my life. And when I hear you say that, it makes me think of it from a layman's term, something that I'm passionate about. Somebody just said this, my chiropractor just said this to me the other day, because he said, how old are you? I said, I'm 56. And he said, so basically, he said, do you see yourself living to be 100? And I said, yeah. I said, why not? I would be happy with that as long as I'm in good health and stuff like that, as much as it be. And he says, well, I want you to think about this, Ray. He said, if you say that you want to live to 100, so at the 50-year mark, you're basically halfway to the end of your life. And so wherever you think you're going to live, what people need to understand is that if I'm going to live to be 100 at 50, moving forward at 50, I'm either going to pay the price for the decisions I've made, or I'm going to benefit from the decisions I made. And when he said that, I was like, wow, dude. And it's like, it's so true, dude. It's like, I've said it before, you can either pay the price now or you can get the bill later for obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, early death, whatever. And so I love how when you say you want to make somebody better, it's almost like, in my world, it's like you make them be who they're really supposed to be. You get them to run on all 12 cylinders like they used to. And now I have to ask you this question, because I've been a fitness professional for 40 years, and this is the biggest battle I get. And I know you're going to agree with me, but I want to hear it from you because I have the highest respect for you. So if there's anybody watching this, don't take my word for it, take Dr. Talbot. I still run into people today that say, oh, I don't need nutrition. I don't need supplements. I can get everything I need from food. And I'm like, dude, you're either living in a rock somewhere or you're going to be like a horse and all you do is eat. What's your opinion on that, please?
Yeah, I think even if you ate the so-called perfect diet, you still couldn't get everything that you need from food. And we know that from the science. When I used to teach at the university, I would teach dietitians who are very often trained to repeat exactly what you just said. To say, hey, if you eat all your fruits and vegetables, if you eat all your lean proteins, if you eat all your whole grains, if you eat all your healthy fats, all that kind of stuff, that's all you need. And so let me preface what I'm about to say by saying I'm a food first nutritionist. I believe that you should do all that kind of stuff. You should get your 5 to 10 servings of brightly colored fruits and vegetables. You should get your healthy fats and et cetera, et cetera. And I talk a lot about what I call the mental wellness diet in terms of helping you be healthier, but helping you feel better at the same time. But if you look at statistics from the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, from the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, from the IOM, the Institute of Medicine, all of those statistics will show you that the foods these days don't contain the same levels of nutrients that they did 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years ago, right? So we're talking about lower levels of fiber and phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals. We're talking about higher levels of pesticides and heavy metals and just stuff you don't, sugar, for example, stuff you don't want, right? So the food is different than it was before. But even if you were getting all organic, brightly colored, all that kind of stuff, it still doesn't have the kinds of things that we know are associated with optimal health. That way of eating can certainly keep you sort of baseline. You're not going to get scurvy. You're not going to get beriberi or any of the deficiency diseases if you eat that way, but you're not going to be at your optimal peak performance. And that sort of difference right there between being regular versus being better, that difference is where supplements can really help, where we can say to people, you know what, it's not just about getting more fiber, it's about getting a special kind of fiber. It's not just about getting more of one particular vitamin or mineral. It's about getting this array of vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients and things that can feed your microbiome and things that can feed your brain and all of that kind of stuff. That's where the science is really emerging to say, hey, this is how we become better humans that are healthier and higher performance if we can sort of close that gap.
Wow. There you go, guys. And guys, if you've got any questions, go ahead, type them in the chat, and we'll get back to them. I'll reach out to Dr. Talbot, get them answered for you. I'll just share a funny story. Then we're going to go to the doctor, like I call it, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the other side of you. And then we're going to bring it home and talk about what you and me are both passionate about and how we met and how you got to that and stuff like that. So a funny story. I'm in California, as you know. We got this 5 freeway, and I drive up it all the time. And somebody pointed out to me 2 things at one time. One When you drive up the 5 freeway, there's cows everywhere when you get to a certain point on the side of the road. In mud. They're in mud. There's no grass. There's nothing. So it's like, what are they eating? You know, compared to like cows in New Zealand or stuff that, you know, they're kind of sacred almost, and they get to eat grass and stuff. And the other thing he shared with me, and dude, it's right there in front of us, but if somebody doesn't point it out to you, they don't think about it. He showed me this picture of people spraying our vegetables and our fruits to help them to grow better and get them ready for market in hazmat suits. Hazmat suits. And I'm like, and he was like, do you not see a problem there, dude?
Right.
They're in hazmat suits and they're spraying your vegetables. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Yeah. So let's flip gears, because usually when you meet somebody who's you're either a nerd, you're either a brainiac or an athlete. You don't usually see people that are both. So that's why I called it Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So let's talk a little bit about your athletic life, because you're like both. You're a brainiac and then not just an athlete, you're a freak. You're like, I'm a 2-time Hawaii Ironman finisher. You've done like 26. You've done like 100 marathons. You were voted like, you know, the fittest CEO. And now you just made the, I think, what was it, the cycling Olympic team or something like that? I mean, how does that happen?
Well, you know, back in the day, like I never would have thought of myself as an athlete, right? When I was in high school, for example, I was on the track team, but it was purely for social reasons, right? It's because there are a lot of cute girls on the track team. That's why I went out for track, right? But I was a mediocre at best athlete. And then when I went to college, I tried out for the track team. I was at a little Division III school, so they let me on, and I was mediocre at that for a couple of months. And then a friend of mine said, hey, you should try out for the rowing team. And I said, I don't know the first thing about rowing. He goes, neither did I 3 months ago. And I joined, and I love it. So I tried out for the rowing team, and I'll tell you what, it completely changed my life. I was a 4-year rower. I was 2 years captain of the team at my college. I went to the United States national team for rowing. I became a rowing coach after that for a college team up in New England. Completely changed my life, and then shifted me to be sort of an athlete, right? But a rower doesn't have a very long career, right? You do it when you're in college. You do it maybe a little bit after, like on a national team situation, try to make the world championships or the Olympics, and then you're done unless you become a coach full time. So I stopped that, and I started doing cycling and running and triathlons and things like that, and ended up finding I was not bad at that too. So, you know, for that I've done 20 Ironmans now. I just last weekend I qualified for Kona, so I'll be able to go over to Hawaii, you know, sort of this time next year. I'm super excited about that. So yeah, and you know, so now I would consider myself an athlete. And what I tell people now is exactly what Nike has been telling people for 20 years, that if you have a body, you are an athlete, right? There is something that you can do with that at whatever level you want to, right? It doesn't have to be world championships. It doesn't have to be collegiate level. I mean, you could be walking the dog, right? And that is moving your body and having some physical activity. And that's what the human body was designed to be. So anyway, I try to download that to people as much as possible.
You know, I love it. And, you know, I'm sure it doesn't suck that you have the mindset and you know how to use nutrition. I mean, you're working with high caliber. Here's what people don't understand. When you're an Olympic level athlete, okay, to get this much improvement is massive, as you know, and that's what you're doing. So I'm sure it doesn't suck that you understand that, because I've trained, you know, young athletes, and some of them are in the NFL now. Some of them have gone on to be very successful. That's what I've been very passionate about. And I used to say to them, you know, you need to have this, the post-workout, you need to do this and this. What does it taste like, coach? Don't ask me what it tastes like. Ask me what it's going to do for you. You know, that should be your question. And I'll give you a look, because I've done Kona twice, okay? So let me get... So obviously you qualified. So
I'm gonna have to pick your brain about what to do in those lava fields when the time comes.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you something. Okay, so we'll tell you this. I gotta share this to you. So you obviously qualified, so you're obviously fast. I got invited as a celebrity, okay? So my first year was 15:35, my second year was 15:37. the pros will tell you that they almost have more respect for us, because when you're a pro like yourself, you get out with a tailwind and you get back with a tailwind. Us slow people, we get a headwind going out and we get a headwind coming back. And it's like 50-mile-an-hour headwind, and it's like no joke, okay? And so my first year, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I'm in the pool one day swimming, working. My brother was dying of cancer. That's how I got invited. And he was, in February, they gave him 3 months to live. And they called me, said, hey, do you want to do this Ironman? And I was like, oh, hell no. I have no desire to do that Ironman. And then my mom called me, it was my stepbrother, said, hey, Mark has been diagnosed with cancer. He's got 3 months to live. And I was like, oh man, because I know he always talked about that Ironman race. So I called him back and I said, hey, I'll do it. Send me some shirts, send me some hats. I flew up to Vancouver and my brother was there. I said, here's the deal, buddy. I said, I'm going to cross the finish line for us in October, but you got to fight and be there with me. And in the process, I said, how do we turn this into a positive one? And he said, well, let's raise some money for a charity. And I said, okay. And he said, what charity do you want to raise it for? And he said, children's cancer. Because he said, let me tell you something, Rael, I'm in chemo, and it's amazing to me, there's all these young kids there that some of the parents drop them off and say, I can't deal with this anymore. Yep. Some of them, they don't even know. I said, so I want to do something different. We ended up raising $100,000. I had to cross the finish line to get it. That was the deal from Camp Ronald McDonald, and we did it with ADT was the ones who donated most of the money. But a couple of funny things. Okay, so you train your life, right? And then when the gun goes off, it all goes out the window, right?
Right, exactly.
First and foremost, out of nowhere in the pool, I have a panic attack, the first one ever in my life. I had to jump out of the water like a fish, and now it gets worse and worse as I'm training. It got so bad that I ended up finally getting hypnotized to get through it. I tried everything. Because as you know, I got to get out of the water to start the race. Right. So I'm petrified of the water. I get to Kona, and I turn on the news one day. I can see the turnaround from my hotel room, and there's these helicopters spinning up around above the turnaround. Oh, cool, look at that, honey. I turn on the news, and they're showing shots below of the sharks swimming at the turnaround.
That'll be good for your panic attack.
And I'm thinking, if I'm a shark, that's where I would be in October. I got 2,000 swimmers coming across. I could just pick one of them off. So the first year wasn't bad. I did pretty good. It was a pretty decent race and all that. So I came back to do the second year. And oh my gosh, the waves, Dr. Talbot, were like 10 feet tall. So as you're swimming and you want a spot, I would sometimes be down and I can't see nothing but water above me. So when I came out, my wife said, you were green, like literally green. I was so excited to get out of the water. Then I got on the bike. And bike was my thing. I hammered the bike. I don't know what happened, Dr. Talbot. I picked up something, whatever. We have those one-piece skin suits. But when you saw me on the run, I looked 9 months pregnant. I bloated up like this. I'm going out. We had rain, snow, 50-mile-an-hour winds, all on the same day. We get to the top of Hawaii, and as you know, that's when, we get to go downhill. No. The wind was so bad, we're white-knuckling our bikes all the way down. I literally saw this nun in front of me get blown right off her bike into the lava field. Like literally, 1 minute she's there, the next minute she's gone. Whoa. And then, as you know, energy lap, okay? The energy lap that they say you go in and something happens, you come out and you have no energy. Well, the first year, nothing happened. I was like, well, that's stupid. That's the second year, I'm running like 750 miles, like better than I've ever ran. I'm feeling great. My sponsor was Timex, and they were like, dude, you better slow down. I got this. And I go into the energy lap. I switch my shoes out, and I start to run, and it's literally like someone went, chick. And I'm like, what? And now I'm doing the Kona shuffle all the way home. So, yeah, so that was crazy. But you're going to have a great experience. I like to say I saw God and the devil many times during the day. Right. But okay, let's bring the land display. So you were working with the Olympic athletes. You met this amazing man, Hip Tran, who had a vision, and Rich Higbee, and Pat Hins, and all of them out there. And so what inspired you to come join Amare? And I know when you started, you didn't even know where you were going. How did we end up with mental health and wellness? And how did you come up with these different products? How did that all happen?
Yeah, well, whether you want to call it, the universe aligning, or the divine intervention, or whatever your beliefs are, right? I truly believe something special happened when all these amazing folks came together, and I'm just glad that I'm able to be a part of it, because what we decided to do as a team is really focus 100% of our efforts on improving mental wellness, right? So when we started Amare, we call Amare the mental wellness company, because we're focusing 100% on depression, anxiety, stress, mental focus, brain fog, stress resilience, sleep quality, mood, all that kind of stuff, because no one's doing that. And if you look at the statistics, it's the biggest problem around the globe today. The World Health Organization would call what I just rattled off the leading cause of what they call global disease burden. It leads to things like heart disease. It leads to things like cancer and metabolic problems like obesity and diabetes and things like that, right? So if we can intervene and help people feel better, they'll perform better, they'll be healthier, right? So it's sort of that chain of events. And nobody's ever decided to focus on mental wellness because there's always been a stigma associated with it, right? People didn't want to talk about how they felt. They didn't want to talk about the fact that they, that they were overstressed, or they were depressed, or they were having a panic attack, or any of that kind of stuff. There were things that we kept quiet. And so we're trying to change the whole narrative around that, to say to people, look, everybody's in that same boat. Quite literally, everybody is in that same boat. And there's some lifestyle interventions that we can do to change your biochemistry, to change how the signals are going across your body, change how you feel, change how you perform, change what your health is. It's a really, really different way of thinking about it. And, I got to be honest with you, like I came into this project thinking it would just be a cool intellectual exercise, right? Because this is the kind of work that I've done for the last 20 years. Maybe I could give these guys some ideas, and maybe they'd license one of my ideas, and I could get a royalty on one of these products or something like that. Or maybe they'd fund a research program and we could collect some more data and things like, whatever. And the more that I get to know them, I've known Rich Higbee for 20 years, but the more I get to know Hip Tran, the more I get to know Mike Brown, the more I get to know Pat Hintz, Mark Nguyen, all the founders and the people who were there in the early days, the more I went, oh my gosh, these guys are like the dream team in terms of being a business leader, being a sales leader, being a field leader, being a marketing expert, being a technology expert, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, oh my gosh, if they would ask me to be the sort of science piece of this puzzle, oh my gosh, a big dream come true. And then that dream came true, and I'll never forget it. Hip sort of made me the offer. He's like, look, we don't want you to be a consultant. We want you to be part of the team. Let's do this. Let's do something that's never been done before. And I said to him, I go, can I just accept right on the spot? I don't need to think about that. And he goes, okay, welcome to the team. So it was just like that. And we look back on it now, almost 3 years, and we just can't believe how quickly things have progressed, how fast the time has gone by, how many people have seen the same vision that we're seeing about how we can help people and how we can change the world in certain ways. And I mean, it's exploding in ways that we kind of hoped for, but never even really, wanted to fully believe, because it seemed pie in the sky. But now it's happening in front of our faces, which is fantastic.
And I'm extremely grateful that you accepted that and you all came together. I actually I started with the Fab Five, but I think there's more than you now. So I think I got to call you the Avengers of Health or something like that. So how did you, the Gut Brain Heart Axis, that become, because that's our fundamental, flagship product. How did that become the solution that helps us with all those problems that we solve?
Yeah, well, I'm very honest about this whole way of how it came up. People want to look at me sometimes and point it to me as the genius behind all of these ideas. And it really is like what I said before. As a product developer, you sort of say, all right, here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Let's figure out what is the most innovative, effective, scientifically cutting edge way to do that. And part of the luck, if you will, of Amare starting when it did about 2.5, 3 years ago, the science also changed right around the same time around how we think about what mental wellness is. So, and that's where the microbiome, the gut brain axis, the heart brain axis, all of that science has been developing over the last few years. And now, just in the last couple of years, is to a place where someone like me can look at it and go, we can use that science to build into a product or a program or an intervention in a way that we can just plug into somebody's life. 5 years ago, we couldn't have done that. So if all of this came together 5 years ago and we said, let's do a mental wellness company, we wouldn't have been able to do it as effectively as we could. It could now because of the way the science changed. If we decided to do this 5 years from now, somebody else probably would have done it. Would have gone and done it because the science is changing in a very fundamental way. So from my perspective as a scientist and a product developer, I look at that new science and I go, all right, this is something that we can use. This is something that nobody else has seen yet. The scientists have seen it, but they haven't seen the broader application into the public health realm. That what Amare is doing is sort of bridging those two gaps and saying, look, new science, new way of thinking about mental wellness, let's put those together and let's help a lot of people, So it's a lot of sort of timing, if you will, right? Being in the right place at the right time. And that's part of our message right now, to be perfectly honest, that, people, let me say this. I heard a psychologist say this just the other day, somebody who studies happiness research. They said, look, one of the things that really drives happiness for people is how they frame what they do every day. Some people have a job where they hate it. They go there, they do the thing, they get a paycheck, they come home, and they have to do it, right? They need the paycheck, and those people aren't very happy. There are other people who have a career, right? Who do something that they might not be passionate about doing it, but they're going to do it. They're making maybe a lot of money, like maybe they're a lawyer, for example, or they're on Wall Street, and it's their career. They're hitting these milestones. They become a VP, they become a partner, they become whatever. And so they do that. And they're a little bit happier because they're making more money. They're sort of getting the check marks, in terms of the career advancement, things like that. But the happiness of all are the people who are in the third category, who have a calling, right? They're the ones who are doing something that they like to do, that they would do if they didn't get paid for it, that if they are getting paid for it, that they're just able to do it at a higher level because they have more resources. And the real payoff, the thing that's making them happy, is that the thing they're doing is making other people happy, or it's helping them in some way. So that's what I think we're doing at Amare. It's certainly a calling for all of us in corporate, but it's a calling, I think, for the people who are wellness partners in the field, that they can build a business around this that is their own entrepreneurial endeavor, but it's helping so many other people. Like, that is a true calling. And so, you're going to feel better because of the products. You're going to feel better because of the people you meet. You're going to feel better because of the programs that you're being part of. Or you're going to feel better about just because you're doing what you're doing and helping other people. There's nothing like that out there. And I honestly could not think of doing anything else, now that I've been part of this.
I couldn't agree more. I think I've never heard it put like that, by the way, and I love that. So the way you broke it down like that, I've always put it different ways. But it also, 2 weeks ago, I was at Symposium where we all come together, and I took a lot of things away from that. But one of the things I took away from that is kind of what you said. It's like, it wasn't a boom, boom, rah, rah thing. It wasn't it was like, these people are serious, man. That, we're having some fun and stuff like that, but they're serious because this is bigger than just another like nutrition company or something like this. We've been put some serious, whatever on our shoulders because there's people waiting to hear from us, people praying for us. And I really got that. I really did. And I'll share this with you because I got a new champion that just joined our team today, as a matter of fact. And the biggest thing that she said several times, I had her on a call with, Sarah Hine and Pam Otto, who says she loves you, by the way. And the thing she kept saying again is like, when I watched your videos, it was different. It wasn't the shiny cars. It wasn't the glam. It wasn't this. There was something different. It was real. It was authentic. It was grounded, and that's what we do. And I'm really excited about that. And just to agree with you on that and share that with you from my point of view, and like I've shared with HIP, when I met you all, and I got to know you all, it's like, I'm going to go to battle for you guys. You know what I mean? And I think that's the difference, that our wellness partners, we're not just in it to make money. We're in it. We're going to battle. And, when we have leadership behind us like that is there to support us, we're going to fight. We're going to fight hard, and we're going to fight for those people that need us. And with that said, you said about the way you describe it, I want to ask you, because I've only been with the company 3-4 weeks, and already, Dr. Talbot, so thank you, and the Amare team, the testimonials I am getting from my champions is mind-boggling. And I'm just saying, most of them all came from other companies, and they were like, well, out of respect for you, Rael, I'll try it and this. And then they're like calling me like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's in this, Rael, but I'm never coming off this again. I've never felt like this before. Oh my God, my pain, blah, blah, blah. And I save all of those testimonials, by the way. I've done it for years. What would you say is your favorite or biggest victory or testimonial to this day that you've had? Or, somebody emailed you, texted you, called you. What's the first thing that comes to your heart?
Oh man, that's a good question, because there's so many, right? I mean, it's at this point, it's thousands and thousands of people who have what are life-changing in their estimation, life-changing kinds of experiences, right? So, the thing that I like about it is that, and we see, people don't say it this way, but I see it in how they talk and how they carry themselves. That people will talk about, my pain is gone, or my mood is better, or my brain fog, or my performance, or whatever, right? So they'll have that thing that's meaningful to them, that has changed in a significant way, and they'll talk about that. But what you also see, and this goes unsaid, but I've seen it so long throughout my career, is that what you also see change for them is their possibilities, right? They will come to a place where they are so much better that not only are the options opening up for them, right? Now they're thinking about goals that they might set for themselves that they never would have even considered prior to this change happening in them, right? So that's good, right? They're sort of opening up and looking to the future and saying, I could achieve, I could become, I could whatever. And those are things they wouldn't have thought of before. But then almost subconsciously, they're so much better. It isn't just a win for them. It's rippling out from them to their friends and to their family and to their coworkers and to their community. And so even if they haven't gone out and actively tried to help somebody yet, they have, just because of the different energy that they're putting out, just because they're more inclined to help somebody or say a nice word to somebody. Those little things they sound minor, but when you multiply them times thousands and thousands of people who have those testimonials, times tens of thousands of people that they interact with, times hundreds of thousands of people that they interact with, that's what when we talk about the mental wellness revolution, that's what we're talking about, is these little ripple effects that go out across the entire globe. That's what I think is the best testimonial.
Wow. And I couldn't agree with that more, because it's like, when I think about how many, because I'm a morning person, I get 3:34. And it blows my mind, Dr. Talbot, how many, because I was, hey, morning, how you doing? Hey, morning. And it blows my mind at 4 a.m, how many people, and it's because they're not running on all 12 cylinders. That's why I'm excited to be part of this journey with you. And they'll say at 4 a.m, hey man, how you doing? I'm all right.
Right.
What? Dude, at 4 a.m, where are you going to go from there? And it's because, and so you're so right, because if we can help them to feel, I feel good, dude, I feel great. Man, how much different can their day be? 2 questions and then rapid fire, and then we're going to land this. So for people watching this, because as a fitness professional, I know these are probably the 2 most common questions. I'm already with a nutrition company, it's all good. So how are we different than, you kind of already said it, but just sum it up. How are we different than all those other nutrition companies?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've formulated products for a lot of those nutrition companies, right? In my past life running a product development company, companies would come to me all the time and say, we need a weight loss product, we need an energy product, we need a whatever the category would be, and that's great. You can do really good one-off products that in and of themselves are good products, right? And within this category, within network marketing, you can actually see a lot of really good products because they have to have good science, they have to have a story, they have to work so that somebody can get a story about that product and tell that story to sell it to somebody else, right? I get all of that. But what you won't find is you won't find somebody who's somebody, meaning a whole company, focused on mental wellness, which is the most important piece to get under control first. The other pieces, antioxidants, cellular protection, weight loss, those sorts of things, those are all nice things, but they're so far down the line. If you haven't figured out the mental wellness piece first, that's always going to be a monkey wrench into anything else that you're doing. So, that's one piece where we're different. I would also say, those people who are like, well, I'm doing this other nutrition thing, or I'm doing this essential oil thing, or whatever the case may be, I would ask yourself, do you see the same sorts of life-changing testimonials in the customers that you're selling to compared to what we have, right? Are they those real sort of open up the possibilities, or are they just getting healthier? Are they just having less inflammation? Or are they just, it really is a magnitude thing. And it's not to say that those are bad, right? Those can be very good options, but they're just not a big part of that connected whole that we're trying to get people to think of in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I've been doing this 40 years. I've tried pretty much everything. I'm sure you remember, who's calling in here? Dude, so that's weird. I never had that happen. Somebody calling in on my thing. Desiccated liver. I'm sure you remember that. I've done it all. So I totally call this the missing link. So the other question is, because I've had a couple people say this to me, and I'm just a trainer that I know results. I go by results. I know how my body feels. I know the testimonial. So I want to have you to answer this question. I get this a couple times. Oh, well, we already have that gut brain thing with our company.
Sure.
So, and we know they don't, but I want you to answer that question.
Yeah, well, the whole gut brain axis thing it's hot right now, right? So we were the first ones to really put it together in a coordinated way. In fact, our gut brain axis system won the Nutra Award in 2018, just last year, because it was the first one that was ever introduced in a really scientific way. So now other companies are looking and saying, oh yeah, gut brain axis, that's a great idea. Let's put in a bacteria probiotic. Let's put in, sprinkle in some fiber or something like that. There you go, gut brain axis. We have that too. But that isn't what it's all cracked up to be. You really have to look at the science. You have to look at, it's not just doing one bacteria and one fiber. It's a matter of getting this signaling across the entire gut brain axis, and what does the science look like and things like that. So, I could talk about the science forever, about how our science matches up and why we use this strain versus that strain, and why we use that fiber versus that fiber, all that kind of stuff. But the proof of it really comes down to somebody trying it, right? And that's one of the reasons at Amare we do the 100% money back guarantee, because we want people to try the product and go, oh, that's the way I'm supposed to feel, and then say exactly like a lot of your people say right now, Riel, I don't want to ever be off of this thing because of how it's making me feel and how it's changing everything. That's where the real proof of it comes in, right? And if you don't have that, you're not really changing mental wellness in a meaningful way, right? If somebody can't have that sort of a changing story, you're not even in the same game.
Awesome. Okay, rapid fire. 3 questions. Your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero is Aquaman.
Aquaman? Oh, I've never had that one. Okay, you get to be a superhero. You get to have a superpower of your choice. What would it be, and how would you use it to change the world? Oh boy, that's a really good one. I wish I had a superpower to get people to
automatically put themselves in somebody else's shoes. That sounds like such a geeky superpower, but that's one thing that I like with my kids, for example. I'm always encouraging them to not have a knee-jerk reaction about somebody else's response to something. I say, try to put yourself in their shoes. Try to look at it from their perspective. If I had a superpower, it would be that, to be able to snap my fingers and have somebody see it from the other person's perspective. I think that'd be really valuable in the world.
That's good. That's unique. I love that. Okay, last rapid fire. So who's your bigger mentor and why?
My biggest mentor was probably, she's passed away now, but one of my professors when I was working on my master's degree. I will never, ever forget this because it completely changed my whole career trajectory, right? So I told you before that, and her name was Priscilla Clarkson. Very famous exercise scientist in the world of exercise science. But she came up to me after a presentation. What the assignment in this particular exercise science class was, we had to learn about one aspect of exercise science and we had to teach it to the class. So we had a whole class where we just taught that concept. And so I loved it. I loved learning about it. I loved figuring out how to teach everybody. I gave my lecture, and this is back in the day before PowerPoints and all that kind of stuff. And she came up to me after everybody left, the class was over, she came up to me and she had this look on her face of, that was amazing. Oh my gosh, you're such a good teacher. You could be a teacher. You could do this for a job. Like, this is what you should do. And she was so just positive about it. I went, wow, I really enjoy doing that. Maybe I could do this. And that's what set me on all the writing that I've done and all the lectures and all this kind of stuff. Like, I really love to do this because, and I appreciate you getting me on this today, Real, because if there's one person who watches this and gets a little bit of something from what I said or what you said, and they can apply that to their life and get a little bit better, done. That was an hour well spent. And I will do that every hour of every day if I can just get that one person each time.
Man, that was so good, Doctor. And you know what? I couldn't agree more. And I'm just, people who know me, I just go by my heart. I'm going to throw this out there to the coaches, to the teachers, people in places of authority with our youth. I hope you caught what Dr. Talbot just said. I've always said the power of words can cause life and death. In his situation, that teacher caused life. So when you're in that position, and I've been guilty of it, so I'm not judging. Back in the day, I've done some things I'm not proud of, but I've learned from it. So the good news is if this hits you, you can change it today. But you need to know that when you belittle kids, when you shame them, oh, what's wrong with you? You never this, you never that. Go run a lap. Go run a lap. You're always this, you're always you messing everything up, or you're so stupid, dude. Why don't you understand that? Go sit in the corner. Go sit in the corner. Guys, you're killing kids and you're robbing them of your victories. So, if you're a teacher, if you're a coach, be aware of the words that come out of your mouth. And I'm going to speak specifically to coaches because I've been one. Guys, come on. You're 200-300 pounds. You're on the field. You got these kids running around in the heat. You can't even go up the stairs and you're yelling at them, belittling them, telling them to suck it up. You go run some laps yourself. I'm just keeping it real, dude. So anyways, I went off on a tangent, but it just really hit my heart because watching you see how that lit up your life and changed your life, we really need to be cognizant. And as parents too, as parents we do, our words could kill. So listen, champions, we're going to do this a little unique because Dr. Talbot has agreed. So we're going to close this one. I'm going to do editing, and then we're going to come right back. As some of you know, last Monday I found out that I got cancer, and I immediately reached out to Dr. Talbot. And another reason why I'm so proud to be part of this company, and he called me back. I told him of my situation, and I said, can you help me to come up with a routine to set myself up for as much success as I can, with this? And he said, absolutely. So we're going to come back. We're going to do a quick, podcast on that. For anybody who's struggling with that, he's going to give us some pointers that we can do. Dr. Talbot, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule and being with us. This has been amazing. Really, truly has. My champions, I want to thank you for coming and watching this and getting to know the man behind the products that I am so grateful for and so excited about bringing to the world. You know, here at Amare, you know, all we ask, like Dr. Talbot said, is we invite you to check out our brand, check out our products, see if they're for you, see if they can make a difference. And the other thing that we're looking for is we're looking for people that are fun. We're looking for people, you know, that are big thinkers. We're looking for people that are problem solvers. We're looking for people that aren't afraid to live in abundance, that will see our passion, will see our dream and help us take it to the world. People that want to make a 5, 6, 7-figure income by changing the world and making a difference. They want to leave a legacy. Reach out to the person who shared this video with you if either of those things are interesting to you and say, tell me more. How can I be part of that team? I want to check out these products. So with that said, champions, you know, you can follow me on my social media at railandrews.com. We appreciate you. We will believe in you till you believe in yourself. Make the rest of the day the best of the day. God bless. Boom. All right, so we are going to end this, and I'm going